Homework 4 notes. These are going to be we're going to solve polynomial equations. Polynomial equations can be solved by factoring in some cases. We will only use the zero product property to solve in this course. All right, so solve by factoring. Right here, it looks like it's factored, but everything can factor, both terms can factor, or both factors can factor further. So I'm going to factor out a 6 here, and I'm left with x plus 6. Okay. Right here, this part right here, you can factor that further. X and x minus 2 and minus 4. Negative 2 times negative 4 gives us positive 8. Negative outsides plus insides are going to give us this. Negative 4x, negative 2x gives us negative 6x. So now we have this, this was factored, it just wasn't factored completely. Now, we are wanting to solve for x. So any factor that has an x with it is when we use that zero property, zero product property. This 6 does not have an x. This does, so you say x plus 6 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, and this also has an x. X minus 4 is equal to 0. And now we solve just like we did in homework 3. We're going to subtract 6 on this one. I'm going to add 2 on this one. I'm just trying to do this so I don't have to switch pens, and then I'm going to add 4 here. So when I added 6 to both sides, or when I subtracted 6, I get a negative 6 here. Here x is equal to 2, and here x is going to equal 4. And again, you can store these, plug them back in, and this whole side would give you 0. I'll just do one of them. Okay, so if I try the negative 6, I'm going to say negative 6, store x. Then I'm going to plug in 6x plus 36 times the x squared minus 6x plus 8. Make sure everything's plugged in right. And it gives us 0, just like we were supposed to. Now, at this point, it's easy to do 2 and 4. I can say 2 store x. Whoops, let's try that again. Let's stop doing that. 2 store x, hit enter. Now it's going to take 2 and plug it in. I'm going to bring it back up, and notice I get 0, so that one's right, and 4 store x. Bring that back up. You can actually go up and highlight. Either way, however it is, and you get 0. So all 3 of those are right. Okay, right here we have 4 terms. When you have 4 terms, you solve by grouping. Sorry. We're going to group these 2 together. We're going to group these 2 together. I don't care if you use parentheses or brackets. It doesn't matter. Okay. Or you can do it like this, and that's how I think I was going to do it before, but that's okay. All right. So when I factor in these 2 here, however it is, whatever you use, I'm going to factor out a 4x squared. When I do that, 3x cubed divided by that 4x squared, I'm left with 2x. When I take this and divide it by 4x squared, I'm left with plus 1. Now, in these parentheses right here, this, or brackets, this starts with a negative. So I want to factor out, 25 is what goes into both of them, but I'm going to factor out a negative 25. And the reason I factor out a negative is because that one is negative. When I do that, I'm left with 2x. Negative 25 divided by negative 25 gives me plus 1. Guys, when you are factoring by grouping, these two have to match or you've done something wrong or it wouldn't factor to begin with. Okay, but we're trying to get you to practice factoring, so we're going to factor. Okay, what do they both have in common? They both have a 2x plus 1 in common. And they are left with 4x squared minus 25 equals 0. Now, we've factored it, we just haven't factored it completely. So we have the 2x plus 1. This here is a difference of 2 squares. It's two terms with a minus sign, and they're both perfect squares. It has to be a minus. If it was a plus, it wouldn't do this. So the only way to get 4x squared would be 2x and 2x. I mean, you can get 4x and 1x, but this is a difference of 2 squares, so that you're taking the square root of both sides. So of both terms. You have 2x and 2x. One's got to be plus, one has to be minus, and the square root of 25 is 5. Say if I multiply this and use FOIL, I end up with this. This gives me 4x squared. Outside is negative 10x. Inside is positive 10x. It cancels each other out. And this gives us negative 25. Now any term with an x, you set equal to 0 and solve. So we have 2x plus 1 equals 0, 2x plus 5 equals 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. Right here, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. When I do that, I get 2x equals negative 1. Divide by 2. And I'm going to put my answer over here. So one of my answers is a negative 1/2 or 0.5, negative 0.5. Right here, I'm going to do these at the same time so I don't have to switch my pens out as much. I'm going to subtract 5 here. Here, I'm going to add 5. I get 2x equals a negative 5 here, and over here, I get 2x equals positive 5. Now, divide by 2. And over here, 1 negative, 1 is odd, so our answer's negative 5/2. Here, positive 5/2. And you can check all those answers in there, and it should give you 0. All right, we've already solved rational equations in, I think it was homework 2, but now we're going to do it again. So that's why we're calling it part 2. So first thing we need to do is when we have x in the denominator, you got to worry about what x is because the denominator can't be 0. So my restrictions or excluded value, okay, sometimes you only have one restriction, but here we're going to have 2. X cannot equal 1 here because if it was, 1 minus 1 equals 0. And it can't be equal to negative 1 in this denominator or this one. Okay, you can always find 1 and negative 1 by actually just setting this equal to 0. Same thing here and same thing here. Okay, that's how I got those. Now, if we come up with 1 or negative 1, we got to kick it out. All right, next thing we got to do is find our least common denominator. Now in homework 2, this is how I taught you to do it. You take your first denominator and list it over here. Then you go to your next denominator. I do not have an x plus 1 over here, so I need to list it as well. Go to your next one, an x plus 1. I already have 1 over here, so I found my least common denominator. So now, what I taught you guys to do is take these 3 things, write it over here, because this is where you're just going to do your work. 1 over x minus 1. I've got 2x over x plus 1. And then I'm going to list 2 over x plus 1. All right, so you take your least common denominator and you multiply everything you see by that. And these are over 1. Okay, so now you start canceling. These go together, that's why I'm putting them in parentheses. So my x minus 1's cancel, and I'm left with, they cancel to give you 1's. So 1 times x plus 1 gives us x plus 1 over 1. So right here I have x plus 1. Be careful, we got a minus sign. Now you could bring this down as negative. It's up to you. I just didn't this time. X plus 1's cancel. So 2x, actually, I think I'm going to, well, I'll just leave it. I'll show you both ways. 2x times x is 2x squared. And 2x times a negative 1 is negative 2x. Okay. Now, if I was working this, I would have, well, what happens is you have minus that 2x squared minus 2x, and then we're not done. But what's going to happen is when you have a minus sign outside of that, everything changes. Negative times a positive gives us a negative. Negative times a negative gives us a positive 2x. Now, had I brought this down as a negative right here, okay, this would have been negative 2x times x is negative 2x, and negative 2x times a negative 1 gives a positive 2x. So we would go straight to here, okay? But I didn't, so, but that's how I would have worked it. Okay, and then this last one, the x plus 1's cancel. And I'm going to say 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times a negative 1 gives us a negative 2. So I have 2x minus 2. Now I'm going to solve. Before I do anything, I'm going to rearrange and I'm going to combine my like terms. I have negative 2x squared. I'm going to say x and 2x, that gives us 3x plus 1. I just rearranged them, equals this 2x minus 2. Okay, I got to get everything over to one side. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like this being negative, okay? But I'll show you how I would, I'm going to do this a little bit different than I usually do. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to move this 2x over here just because this is how I've been doing every other problem. And I get negative 2x because I'm subtracting it here. I'm also going to go ahead and take care of this minus 2. I'm going to take it over here because I have to get one side equal to 0. So that cancels and that cancels. So if I add 2 here, I now have negative 2x squared plus x plus 3 equals 0. Now, I don't like this to be negative. Some of you are going to go ahead and use it. That's perfectly fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. If I divide both sides by a negative 1, all of these things here change. I can do that. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. So if I divide this whole thing by a negative 1, I got to divide that by negative 1, both sides. So this is going to give us a positive 2x squared. This is going to give us a negative x, and this is going to give us a negative 3. Equals, and 0 divided by anything is 0. So now I'm going to factor. 2x, again, if you want to do AC method, that's perfectly fine. 2x and x. My signs are different. The only way I can get 3 is 1 and 3. So I'm going to put my minus 3 here and my plus 1 here. I just need to double check to make sure that I factored correctly. So I'm going to do that by doing FOIL. This gives me 2x squared positive 2x, negative 3x, which gives us negative 1x, and negative 3 times 1 gives us negative 3. So it's factored right. So now I take the 2x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and I take the x plus 1, set it equal to 0. I'm first going to add 3 to both sides. Here I'm going to subtract 1. I'm just doing that right now so I don't have to change my pens. That gives me 0. I get 2x is equal to 3. Divide by 2. And I get x is equal to 3 halves. Right here, I'm going to get x is equal to negative 1. Now, so the two answers that I get are 3 halves and negative 1. But what I have to do is check my restrictions. It can't be negative 1. So I got to kick that answer out because that makes that problem undefined. Our only answer is here. And you can check this just like you checked everything else. Okay? All right. So, number 5. All right, so we got to find our restrictions first. So the first thing we're going to do, hold on, I'm checking something really quick. Okay, first thing we're going to do is find our restrictions. Here is my red pen. All right, so x is not allowed to be a negative 3 here, because again, you set this equal to 0 and solve. This doesn't have a denominator, does 1, but it doesn't have an a in it. If you set this equal to 0 and solve, you're going to find that it can't be a negative 1. Okay, so now what you're going to do is find your least common denominator. Okay, so how you're going to do that, you're going to take your first denominator and you're going to write it down. This doesn't have one. It does, but it's 1. It's not going to do anything. Go to this one and list it as well because we don't already have one. That's our LCD. Now, be careful. Make sure you have 3 things here that you multiply all of them by that. So over here, you just do the work over here, even though in my notes, like on the review, I won't do this because I already explained I'm lazy. Alright, so over here, I'm going to multiply everything you see by this least common denominator over 1. Even the 1. And this one. A plus 3 times a plus 1 all over 1. Okay, so when I do this part, this cancels with this. So right here I have a minus 6 times a plus 1. Now, because this is a plus sign, I don't have to be careful about changing any signs. If you use FOIL here, you'll end up with a squared. Positive 1a, negative 6a gives us negative 5a. And negative 6 times positive 1 gives us a negative 6. So, I have a squared minus 5a minus 6. Then there's a plus sign. Right here, the 1's not going to do anything, so I got to use FOIL here. When you use FOIL, you get a squared. 1a plus 3a is 4a. And 3 times 1 gives us 3. So we have plus a squared plus 4a plus 3 equals, right here, that cancels with that. So we really have this a minus 1 times this a plus 3. FOIL. A times a is a squared. Outsides is 3a. Insides is negative 1a. That gives us 2a. Negative 1 times 3 is let's try this again. Negative 1 times 3 gives us negative 3. Okay, so I have equals a squared plus 2a minus 3. Okay, before I start getting it equal to 0, I'm going to simplify this side over here. So right here, I have 1a squared plus 1a squared. That gives me 2a squared. I have negative, sorry, my hand gets in the way. Negative 5 and positive 4a is negative a, or negative 1a. Negative 6 and 3 gives us negative 3. I'm going to bring this down, equals a squared plus 2a minus 3. Okay, so I got to get one side equal to 0. So I'm going to bring this over here by, get rid of it by subtracting it. I'm going to do this all at once. That gives us 0. That's what we want. I need this over here. I'm going to do that by subtracting the 2a, because that gives me 0. And then I got to get this 3 over here, and I'm going to do that by adding 3. And that gives me 0. So on the right hand side I have 0. Over here on the left, there's really a 1 here. So 2 minus 1 gives me 1a squared. Negative 1a minus 2a gives us negative 3a. And negative 3 plus 3 gives us 0. So we have a binomial, we don't have a trinomial. Well, that's okay. See if you have a greatest common factor. They both have an a in it, so I'm going to factor out an a. And I'm left with a minus 3 equals 0. Because remember, when I factor something out, all I'm doing is dividing these. This has an a in it, that factor, so I have to set it equal to 0. Okay, so we got one of our answers. This one has a minus 3 equal to 0. So you add 3 to both sides. And we have a is equal to 3. So our two answers are a equals 0 and a equals 3. And you will notice that neither one is a restriction, so we're good. Okay, and you can check. I'm just checking my answer here in Photomath, okay, and it's right, because I don't have any notes with me right now. Okay, now I'm going to pick up with this one in another video.